Aldi stocks roughly 1,400 products. Walmart carries around 40,000. And yet Aldi generates an estimated $662 in revenue per square foot against Walmart's $418, according to retail benchmarking by Strategy Hub. By that measure, Aldi is barely a supermarket. It's also the most productive retail floor in the sector. That number looks wrong. The whole Aldi experience signals cheapness: products in their cardboard shipping boxes, shelves that read as half empty, a cart you rent with a quarter. It doesn't look like the most efficient capital operation in grocery retail. It looks like a budget shop that hasn't fully stocked yet. The gap between those 1,400 products and the 40,000 competitors carry isn't an accident or a supply problem. It's the most important structural decision in Aldi's business model. And those 38,600 missing products are what make the store outperform the ones that carry them. Carl and Theo Albrecht took over their mother's grocery shop on Hewstrasse, Essen in 1946. In 1961, they cut their product range to around 600 items and stripped nearly every national brand from the shelves. Their competitors assumed it was temporary. It wasn't. What those competitors missed, and what most of the grocery industry still underestimates, is that the cut wasn't a retreat. It was the moment Aldi invented a machine that's been outperforming conventional retail for 65 years, quietly, in plain sight, one sparse shelf at a time. Walk into a Kroger or a Sainsbury's, and the breadth of choice is part of the experience. 30 brands of pasta sauce, 14 varieties of chicken stock, an entire aisle of coffee. That range is the promise of the modern supermarket. Everything you need under one roof. It's also a capital problem. Every product on a conventional supermarket shelf carries a cost. The store buys it from a supplier, moves it through a warehouse, trucks it to the floor, and monitors when it expires. A product sitting 3 weeks on the shelf instead of 3 days ties up working capital for those extra 18 days, across every one of 40,000 lines simultaneously. Retail analysts measure this with inventory turns, how many times per year a store sells through its complete stock. High-volume U.S. grocery chains average around 20 turns per year. Aldi, running a range 1/35 the size, averages closer to 40. Each product moves twice as fast. Faster turns mean less working capital in slow-moving stock, less waste, smaller warehouses. Each square foot of Aldi's shelf space is doing productive work. The traditional supermarket's breadth, its primary selling point, is also, structurally, its biggest carrying cost. You've walked past this dynamic hundreds of times without recognizing it. The neatly faced shelves, the carefully managed abundance, that's not efficiency. That's inventory waiting to be sold, financed by the retailer, sitting at a cost per day. Aldi's near-empty shelves are doing the opposite. So why do conventional supermarkets carry 40,000 products if the economics are so punishing? Partly consumer expectation. People want choice. But partly something most shoppers never see. National brand manufacturers don't just sell their products to supermarkets. They charge to be on the shelf. The mechanism is called a slotting fee. A consumer goods company wanting guaranteed shelf placement at a major U.S. grocery chain can pay anywhere from $25,000 to $250,000 per product, per retailer, per year. Figures retail consultants have cited for decades. The supermarket takes the fee and absorbs the obligation that comes with it. That obligation looks like variety. The brand wants its full range stocked, 3 sizes, 4 flavors, a limited edition. The supermarket accepts, because slotting fees and promotional co-spending partially offset the carrying cost. Hence 14 types of chicken stock. Hence the aisle of coffee. There's also the margin problem. National brands don't share their production economics with the retailer. The supermarket buys at the brand's wholesale price and sells at whatever the market bears. Heinz captures the value of the Heinz name. The supermarket captures only the spread between wholesale and retail, which narrows every time the brand runs a promotion. The result is a store running 40,000 products, many moving slowly, most priced at the manufacturer's terms, some occupying shelf space in exchange for fees that don't solve the margin problem. It works for the brands. The supermarket is the distribution infrastructure they're renting. The 1961 Albrecht decision to cut to around 600 products wasn't a budget compromise. It was a deliberate dismantling of the brand relationship. No slotting fees, no promotional commitments, no obligation to stock a supplier's full range. The supplier either accepted all these terms or the shelf stayed empty of their product. Aldi was comfortable with that. The leverage that gives Aldi is unusual in retail. A supplier negotiating with Kroger or Tesco knows the chain can't afford to drop any major brand. 40,000 products creates 40,000 dependencies. Aldi needs 1,400. If a supplier won't meet Aldi's price, Aldi finds someone who will, or contracts a manufacturer to make an equivalent under its own label. Compress a 40,000 product store to 1,400 and inventory turns faster, warehouses shrink, supplier relationships drop by 97%, and every friction point in a conventional supply chain, the range negotiations, the promotional calendars, the seasonal SKU extensions, disappears. There's also a concentration effect. If Aldi's olive oil is the only olive oil in the store, every customer wanting olive oil buys that one. Demand spread across 12 competing brands in a conventional supermarket concentrates on a single SKU, driving per product volume to levels a full-range store rarely achieves. This is the engine. Not the sparse layout, not the no-name checkout bags. Those are symptoms. The engine is the constraint itself. Fewer products, each doing more work, each selling faster, each generating more revenue per foot of floor. Simple, hard to replicate. When Aldi removed the national brands, it didn't leave empty shelves. Around 90% of Aldi's product range is private label, manufactured by third-party factories under Aldi's own house names. Aldi doesn't stock Heinz ketchup. It stocks a ketchup made by a manufacturer meeting Aldi's specification at terms Aldi controls. That's where the margin restructuring happens. The brand premium, the margin Heinz captures from decades of advertising and name recognition, is substantial. Industry analysis suggests national brands take 20 to 30 percentage points more margin than an equivalent private label. At 90% private label, Aldi captures most of that difference. Not all of it goes to the shopper. What does a customer actually pay for when they choose Heinz? Some of it is the product, but some of it is Heinz's marketing budget, its distribution network, its legal team, none of which creates value for someone buying ketchup. Aldi strips it out and prices accordingly. The conventional read on discount retail is that lower prices mean thinner margins. Private label at 90% inverts that. Lower price to the customer, wider margin to the store, because Aldi restructured where the margin sits in the value chain. It didn't eliminate the margin, it reclaimed it. Traditional supermarkets carry private label too. Most large chains run house brand lines at 25 to 35% of range. But 90% is a different model. At that proportion, Aldi has taken vertical control of its product economics, capturing returns conventional grocers hand to Kraft, Unilever, and Nestle every quarter. The SKU constraint and the private label margin are the primary levers. But Aldi runs a third system on top of both, a set of operational decisions that compound the cost advantage at the store level, visible on the floor if you know what to look for. The shipping box display is the clearest example. All these products arrive in boxes engineered to become the shelf display. Remove the lid, place on the fixture, done. No shelf stacking labor, no additional handling. Across 2,400 U.S. stores, that eliminates hours of staff time per store per week. The labor moved from the store floor to the factory packaging line where it costs far less. The barcodes follow the same logic. Aldi prints oversized codes on multiple faces of every product, so the scanner catches them first pass. Checkout speed roughly doubles. Each cashier processes more customers per hour, fewer registers needed. The barcode is doing staffing work. Then the cart deposit, 25 cents in the US, £1 in the UK, refunded when the cart returns to the rack. No parking lot retrieval staff. The quarter does the work instead, across millions of annual transactions, eliminating a cost category conventional grocers simply pay. These aren't tricks. They're a consistent engineering logic. Eliminate every task that doesn't have to exist, transfer to the customer what they'll accept, strip out every cost that doesn't produce value. Industry analysis puts Aldi's operational cost per transaction at roughly 40% below a conventional U.S. grocery chain. In January 2026, Aldi announced more than 180 new U.S. store openings, an expansion rate that has made it the third largest grocery chain in the country by store count, behind Walmart and Dollar General, both carrying 30 times the product range. Aldi's answer to the American grocery market has been to build more of the same thing faster. The immediate driver is inflation. Between 2021 and 2024, U.S. grocery prices rose around 25% per USDA tracking, enough that brand loyalty started to soften. Shoppers who had never seriously considered Aldi crossed a price threshold and didn't come back. Placer.ai puts U.S. Aldi store traffic up 50% between 2019 and 2024. Traditional grocers tried to respond. Kroger, Walmart, and Target all expanded their private label ranges and tightened logistics. But moving from 25% to 40% private label inside a 40,000 SKU range doesn't produce Aldi economics. It produces a hybrid model that's more expensive than Aldi and less profitable than a pure national brand operation. The SKU count is the constraint they can't replicate. Cutting from 40,000 to 1,400 means telling Procter & Gamble, Unilever, and Kraft Heinz their products are out. Those brands take their promotional budgets to a different retailer, and the chain that dropped them feels it in traffic. The supplier relationships are the trap. So conventional grocers are stuck at the margins. Better logistics, cleaner own-label ranges, sharper pricing, while the structural advantage Aldi built in 1961 keeps compounding. The moat isn't physical. It's the supplier relationships Aldi never signed. Return to that $662 per square foot. Aldi is privately held. The Albrecht family has never published audited accounts, so the figure is a third-party estimate, not a verified filing. But the direction is consistent across every public measure. Fewer products, more output per foot. The shop Carl and Theo took over on Hewistrasse in 1946 had limited shelf space and limited cash. The constraint that shaped the original business, not enough room to carry everything, not enough capital for slow-moving stock, became, over 8 decades, the model. What looked like poverty of choice was discipline of capital. The industry label for what Aldi does is discount retail. That framing is misleading. Discount implies sacrifice. The business gives something up to offer a lower price. What actually happens is a structural choice. Turns over range, private label over brand, operational simplicity over full-service variety. The lower price is the output, not the input. The margin Aldi captures per product is wider than many national brand competitors, because Aldi reclaimed the margin flowing to manufacturers. The cheapness is a byproduct of the efficiency. The efficiency came first, and low prices are what it looks like from the outside. Carl and Theo Albrecht cut their product range in 1961 and never explained it publicly. They didn't need to. The $662 per square foot explains it. 65 years later, still running ahead of stores carrying 30 times what they do, on the same sparse shelves, 1 quarter at a time.